Hey everybody, Dustin Dopirak here with our intern Provost-Heron out here at Bryant-Denny Stadium after Tennessee falls 19-14 to Alabama. But obviously this is not a program that's in position to be really happy with moral victories at this point. But yet, I think you have to look at this game and say they certainly, obviously, they beat the spread for those of you who care about that sort of thing. But they were, I thought, more competitive, and I think this was maybe one of their most solid performances this season, even in a loss, even with all, there's a lot that they can kick themselves about the way this game ended. They had a lead in the fourth quarter, allowed Alabama to score in the next drive, didn't get much going in the final drive, but it seemed to me, I think Tennessee did a lot of things they can build on today.
Yeah, for sure. You just look at what they did, just to stop Alabama as a whole. I think Alabama, everybody looked at them and said they're so good defensively, they're so good offensively, And Tennessee, for the most part, made their defense look pedestrian on certain drives, and
right.
They were able to stop Derrick Henry for the most part, except take a few runs away from him there, and for the most part, they played a pretty complete game.
They just didn't. I think the biggest thing is they didn't get blown away in any aspect. It wasn't so much that they kept Alabama from doing anything they wanted to do. I mean, Derrick Henry certainly looked good. 143 yards, 2 touchdowns on 28 carries. Alabama was able to throw the ball a little bit, 247 yards, some big plays by our Darius Stewart and Calvin Ridley, especially down the stretch. But they didn't run them over. Alabama finishes with only 117 yards. That's like, I think they averaged 190, 198, somewhere in that vicinity, so like about 70 less than their average. Total offense, I think they were around, what were they at? Alabama finishes with 364, which is about 70 yards under their average. Scored 19 compared to an average of about 35. They were better than what Alabama usually does. They defended Alabama usually better than they're usually defended. And like you said, I think offensively they move the ball better than a lot of teams do. Jalen Hurd ends up with 92 yards. Tennessee runs the ball for 132, which is almost double what Alabama usually gives up. So for a team that's really, it's really good in a lot of different aspects, Tennessee was at least able to perform better than most other teams do.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on them being proud of being this. I think they're going to might maybe question what could have happened if they weren't so consistent middle of the game there offensively. Josh Dobbs wasn't at his best. They're 4 of 12 in between their 2 scoring drives. If they are consistent through offense, it's kind of interesting to see where they are at this point.
Certainly. I mean, you look at it, it was so weird how that just sort of went. I mean, I think Alabama did a really good job during that stretch of pressuring Dobbs. And basically, I think Tennessee wanted him to make plays out of the pocket, but I think Alabama did a better job than I think they usually do of containing a quarterback or keeping him from making a play, or just getting out and making a tackle on the edge, getting out in the perimeter and making sure that he's got nowhere to go with the ball, continuing to defend, continuing to cover. I think was one of the biggest things Alabama did well. Is even during that stretch, even when Dobbs got outside and when he extended plays, when they had a lot more time than they were supposed to cover, they never lost the receivers. They never let them get any separation and sort of make a busted play. Tennessee wasn't able to do a lot of that. I think big things. I think the developments that Tennessee really made, I think, came on defense. Tackled a lot better after that first drive. I mean, Tennessee was atrocious at tackling the first drive. Derrick Henry just bounced off like 20 guys, especially on that touchdown run. I think he carried Malik Foreman for at least 10 or 11 yards. Foreman seemed to just have no way of doing anything to stop him. But after that, I thought they really tackled well. And the biggest, I think, change tonight that you didn't see all year was Tennessee had a pass rush, and Tennessee had a pass rush with a 4-man standard rush, not having the blitz. I mean, they obviously got at least 1 sack with Reeves Maben got to 1 sack on the blitz, but for the most part, they were able to get it done with a 4-man rush. Provost-Heron, I thought, played not only his best game of the season, but probably his best game, the best game of his Tennessee career.
Yeah, I think this is not a secret. Everybody knows that Tennessee secondary hasn't played up to its, what they would like to play at. Getting that pass rush today was huge. It was able to let those cornerbacks, cover a little bit tighter and kind of, take the time away from Coker to let those plays develop.
Yeah. No, and I thought also the corners, they did play pretty well too. There were a couple play action passes that Alabama took, sort of plays that took a long time to develop, and they didn't get a chance to make those plays. I remember there was a play action pass early that Provost-Heron got in there and sacked Jay Coker, made a big time play there. At the end of the day, again, they didn't make the plays that they had to make. After that big drive. This sort of lightning fast drive that Tennessee had when Dobbs, who had been ineffective throwing the ball for 2 quarters, hits a beautiful corner out to Josh Smith that hits Josh Malone on a deep slant 34-yard pass was just a rope, and they scored a touchdown there. Next drive, Tennessee couldn't really do anything to stop Alabama. Alabama made a couple of big, huge plays. Ardarius Stewart, just crazy leaping grab, and then Calvin Ridley had one too. Eventually, Henry scores on that, and then Tennessee just falls apart in that their last offensive drive. I think they lost 4 yards before the sack and fumble that ended up just sort of killing Tennessee's chances. But more or less, I think looking at this schedule, considering how they played, especially these last 2 games, I think even with this loss, they have a lot more confidence. They got a chance to run the table, I think, after this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at, the teams that they have left, Missouri and Vanderbilt,
Kentucky.
They don't look good. Kentucky's
the toughest one on the schedule right now.
left. Yes, for sure. And I mean, obviously, North Texas is
South
a gimme.
Carolina.
South Carolina.
All those should be gimmies.
Yes, I mean, you're looking at 8-4 right now.
They've got a real shot at it, and they could have, but a couple breaks go their way. They could be 9-3 with a win over Alabama. Missed opportunity, but still one I think that helps Tennessee out. Still a game that I think they can build on. All right, thanks everybody.